Good evening and welcome to the regular City Council meeting for the City of St. Peter. It's Monday, June 24th, 2024. We are all called to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next up is the approval of the agenda. Everybody's received the agenda. Are there any revisions or corrections? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as distributed?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is approved. Up next are the minutes. We've all received a copy of the minutes. I already discussed with Todd and Keisha a correction on page 6 where it states DeVos informed fellow council that the remaining dollars from the budget not spent on accessibility projects in the current year would carry over to the next year. I'm proposing the addition that the informed fellow council that the EDA has requested that remaining dollars, because the EDA, they can make a request, but I think it was implied that they had some authority over those dollars, which they don't. We do expect those dollars to continue in future years, but I just wanted to make that a little more clear. Brad was okay with that change. If everybody else is okay, or if there are any other corrections, take them at this time. Hearing no other corrections, is there a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. We have time on our agenda right now for visitor comments. Is there any visitor who'd like to address the council on any agenda item? Hearing nothing, we have time for general visitor comments. Is there any visitor who'd like to address the council on any matter whatsoever? Hearing none, we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda begins with the memo on page 9 of the packet and concludes with the resolution on page 27. The consent agenda includes the following items: the following employee appointments: Ashton Volk, groundskeeper; Candace Seltzer, Campion, lifeguard; Andy Regner, umpire; Mindy Blaschko, office assistant, AP clerk at the wages indicated within the packet. Rochelle Fuller shall be appointed to the Parks and Rec Board, as well as the schedule of disbursements for June 5th, 2024 through June 17th, 2024. Is there any discussion on any of the consent agenda items? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion. I thought it was going to be. We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye. The resolution is approved. We have no items of unfinished business tonight. Our first item of new business is the designation of housing funds for SWMHP, and Ben is here to talk to us about that.
All right, thank you, Mayor Noel and members of the council. One of the main goals, or the goals of the council and the city, is to provide housing opportunities. So over the years and through multiple projects, the city has accumulated funds that are now set aside and specifically designated for housing projects. Over the last 2 decades, the city has partnered with Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership on a variety of affordable projects around town. Last year, the city approved $145,000 for 3 single-family dwelling projects. So this year in June, Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership is actually requesting $242,800 to help fund up to 6 new single-family home construction projects in Traverse Green that would go or be built in 2024 and 2025. At our council workshop on June 17th, Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership provided detailed information about the proposed housing projects, and they've also reserved 7 lots in the Traverse Green development. A resolution and commitment of this type is needed for the grant application process through the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency. So if all 7 projects move forward and Habitat for Humanity constructs 1 home this year and 1 home next year, That'll leave only 6 affordable lots remaining in Traverse Green for future projects. All the land contributions paid for by Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership will go to the Traverse Green debt service. And one more note, the property tax value and payments will significantly be increased once a new home is constructed on the lot. Attached, there is a picture of both the CLT home that's proposed. This is a visibility home. It actually has at grade, even though there's a front step. If you come through the back, it's at grade, and everything is one level living. 3 or 4 bedrooms can be put in this house, and this is what the majority of the community land trust houses will look like. And then on the bottom of that page, there's the picture of 2 non-CLT homes, or homes by Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership. That'll be split level, very similar in style. That'll be 3 or 4 bedroom as well. These will be affordable housing for the 80% AMI. And then the last attachment just shows what the lot inventory is like up in Traverse Green. You can see the red and black dots are the proposed Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership lots, and there's the white ones show that we only have a few lots remaining up there. So the resolution is on the opposite side of that map, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions for Ben? Carrie?
Well, and I don't know if this is more a question for Ben or Todd, but you know, if folks at home are wondering where we accumulate these housing dollars, that $900,000 of planned, and it's not just for this housing project, it's for a dynamic set of housing projects and ideas, but how do you describe where those funds come? Because I know we do get some from the state.
So the majority of these funds have come through other programs that you've participated in, either with the state of Minnesota through DEED or Minnesota Housing Finance Agency. There's also some TIF resources that are included. So it comes from a variety of sources. As Ben states in his memo, we still are required to meet the rules and the guidelines related to expenditures of those dollars. And so we push those into funding that provides for affordable housing, as Ben said, less than 80% of area median income. One of the goals that the council's articulated here very clearly is you want to continue to see housing across the market spectrum, so not high-end or not just entry-level homes, but across the spectrum. These certainly rest in that area of affordable workforce, entry-level housing, and Southwest has been a great partner for you in the past, and well, that's more than you asked.
Well, I think it's just helpful to know where all those funding sources sort of came together to create this plan. And at the workshop, when Jen was here from Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership, I just think it's worth noting the question that was asked, you know, where are we at in St. Peter? And she said that we're really setting the bar. I think housing is a tremendous challenge, but this partnership, you know, the work that we do, the work that you do, Ben, it's not, nothing's gonna, you know, solve the problem, but like all of these different efforts move the needle, and it's really exciting that this work is being done in our community.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing nothing further, the resolution designation of housing funds for upcoming projects by Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership is on page 32 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Next up, North Industrial Park Subdivision Number 3 Final Plat.
All right, thank you, Mayor Noel and members of the council. So in our North Industrial Park, this was developed back in 2002. Quite a bit of it has been developed, but we still have some vacant land up there. Over the past few months, city staff has been working with various groups interested in purchasing land and constructing new buildings in this area. They would be a potential apartment complex that would take up 5 acres, and that would have potentially multiple buildings. A mini storage complex that would be 2.7 acres, take up multiple buildings. An office or commercial office storage space that would again have multiple buildings and 2.4 acres, and then industrial indoor agriculture building, acre and a half. That would just be one single building. So it was found when looking at all these different projects that Outlot F and Outlot C in the North Industrial Park are an ideal location for these 4 projects. So based on the site plans that were provided for these 4 projects, Bolton and Mink created a plat to adequately serve the site needs of each of these businesses. As part of a development agreement between St. Peter Land and the City of St. Peter, the city is responsible for creating a plat for the proposed apartment project. It was found that instead of just creating one plat for each of these different projects, since they're all coming in at the same time, it makes sense to save time and money by platting all 4 lots. The zoning in this area is I-1, limited industrial, and so all the uses would be allowed either by permitted use or conditional use. There is currently access to a paved road. We have sewer and water available and electric available, all at this site. As you're aware too, the Klein Street project will move Klein Street further north up to the MnDOT entrance, further making the outlot more available for future development. As far as the review process, city staff has reviewed this, the planning commission did review this, and the city council has already approved the preliminary plat. So tonight before you would be the final plat for the North Industrial Park subdivision number 3 project. And then there was a larger map for you to look at that's two-sided, and that's what the official plat will look like. And then that map shows the subject property. Be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
So for folks watching at home, were there any changes from the preliminary plat to the final plat?
There wasn't. All the lots, all the sites worked for each business, so
Great.
there were no changes since the preliminary plat.
Okay. Questions for Ben? Hearing nothing, the resolution approving North Industrial Park subdivision number 3 final plat is on page 39 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Next up, St. Peter Land LLC Industrial Park Subdivision Number 3 Development Agreement.
All right, thank you, Mayor Noel, and members of the council. Over the past few years, the Community Asset Development Group, or St. Peter Land, completed 2 67-unit apartments along Clark Street in what we call North Traverse Green, and both of those quickly filled up. So in light of that, last year they had approached us asking if they could do a 3rd apartment building, either a little bit slightly more to the west on their parcel or along Clark Street. At that time, the council felt that would be too much density in one area. So we came up with the idea of doing a land swap for that same area out in the North Industrial Park. Based on that, a development agreement was signed by the developer in late May, and the development agreement, which is before you tonight, has the following points. So there would be a land swap where they would receive that lot 1, and then the city of St. Peter would receive their parcel out in North Traverse Green, allowing for a 42 single-family residential lot subdivision, which will be called Traverse Green Subdivision Number 3. The St. Peter Land would be responsible for paying a portion of the platting work. They would receive 12 years of TIF assistance, which is 2 years less than normal. This would help cover some of the land costs up front. There would be put in new sidewalk along Klein Street, and then around the building and in the back that connects to the east-west trail, there would be a new trail going in as well as part of this project. They would have to provide parkland dedication. There would be over $80,000 in stormwater improvements fees that would be collected, and the planned completion for this would be before October 2026. So once the land transfers, the city no longer has to pay property tax on the vacant land. So currently in the North Industrial Park, we're paying property tax. So that's one thing to note. And due to the land swap, the city does not have to purchase additional land in the North Traverse Green area for the Collins Street project. So that's another great incentive of this agreement. So attached is the agreement. It also includes what we call the trade agreement. There's some pictures of what the proposed apartment complex will look like. This is a similar project going on in Little Falls, Minnesota by the same developer. And then what the site will look like. Highlighted in yellow would be the outline of lot 1. The green would be sidewalk, and the blue would be trail. So I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Are there any questions for Ben? All right, hearing no questions, the resolution is on page, let me get to my right page here. Let's see. My
52, I believe.
my technology is failing me. I went too far ahead. There we go. 52. The resolution approving a development agreement in North Industrial Park Subdivision Number 3 with St. Peter Land LLC is on page 52 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those, oh, sorry, we have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Thanks very much, Ben. Moving on, our next item of new business is to set a hearing for Tax Increment Financing District number 1-26. And Shannon, it's always a delight to have you, and glad you made it here. You must have found roads that weren't underwater.
I understand the high ground of the area, so thanks. Good evening, Mayor members. The action that's before you is alluded to in Ben's comments with regard to the development agreement you just authorized execution of, which is that St. Peter Land has requested tax increment financing assistance for the proposed housing project in the North Industrial Park. The action that's before you would set the wheels in motion for putting a tax increment financing in place for that project. And ultimately, we'd be holding a public hearing on Monday, August 26th in order to receive public comment regarding the creation of that tax increment financing district. Under Minnesota statute, we can capture new property taxes from housing projects like this for a term of up to 26 years. As Ben mentioned, the negotiations have been for a 12-year term on assistance, and based on the preliminary design and assessor's estimated market value, that assistance would total just over $1 million. We put both a cap on the duration of the subsidy and the amount, and so it's whichever occurs first. And ultimately, the developer has to demonstrate that they've incurred eligible costs of the amount that they're to be reimbursed for. As all housing project costs are essentially eligible, that's not difficult to do in this day and age. Ultimately, there are requirements though. They're required to maintain at least 20% of the units at 50% of area median income. In addition to that, the city requires that 10% of the units must accept federal and state housing dollars. And so those requirements are in place, at least with regard to the TIF assistance, for the life of the subsidy. So 12 years. Again, the action that's before you is calling a hearing, so I'm happy to answer questions with regard to the remainder of the process. We do draft a tax increment plan document that identifies the area, the budget for the TIF district. That document is provided to both the county and school district because we are capturing a portion of their property tax as well. They're certainly welcome and invited to attend the hearing and comment on the project as well. So more than happy to answer your questions.
Thank you. Questions for Shannon? Anything you want to add, Todd?
The only item that I mentioned that Shannon talked about is this is a slight expansion in typically what you would require of a developer related to approval of a tax increment district, and it's the last part related to federal funds. From a practical standpoint, that then ensures that the developer will provide opportunity for Section 8 vouchers also to be used in this project, which is kind of that next step that we've talked about. So I think it's important to just highlight that for a moment.
Daryl?
If there was another building ever constructed on this parcel, would there still be the ability to do another TIF, or does this take away that TIF ability?
No, as it's our understanding that there's a second phase, this plan will be drafted contemplating a second phase. Ultimately, when you adopt a TIF district, it doesn't require you to do any action. Those are requirements only come through authorizing execution of a specific TIF agreement. And so we tend to write our plans broadly enough to accommodate expansion, which this site will accommodate. And at the end of the day, if the developer chooses to do a second phase and you choose to participate in that phase, you would not have to go through a similar action or hire a consultant to expand the TIF district. You'd just be doing a development agreement at that point.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions? Hearing nothing further, the resolution calling for public hearing on the creation of tax increment financing district number 1-26 within municipal development district number 1 and the adoption of a tax increment financing plan related thereto is on page 55 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Next up, our last item of new business before executive session would be a 2024 trail engineering. And Pete is here to talk to us about that.
Madam Mayor and City Council, maybe that should say 2025 or 6 trail project, but as you guys are aware, we did receive some grant funding from MnDOT for the local partnership program. And really what that program's about is making improvements adjacent to or impacting a state highway or highway under MnDOT's control. And so they're very interested in the trail system that we proposed here, which would run from Nicollet Avenue to Highway 169. This project has been on our radar for quite a few years, and we have tried to get MnDOT to do some of this work without us applying for a grant, but it does link some of our trails together, and we're very interested in doing that to complete some of the connecting trail routes. What we're asking you to do tonight is to approve the engineering as we move forward. We still have some flexibility in the time and process that this goes forward. We could put this out to bid as early as 2025 and possibly do that work late in 2025. It is scheduled on the MnDOT agenda or the MnDOT scheduling program for 2026. So we do have to have those funds authorized by June 30th of 2026 in order to be eligible, and that would be our intention. But we'll have some matching funds. We don't know exactly where they're going to come from yet, whether they're general fund or MSA funds, but they are all eligible, and we would like authorization to proceed. And I'm available for questions.
All right, questions for Pete? Todd?
Pete, this comes about through a number of actions that the city's taken. And one of those actions related to additional planning with DOT on the bridge. Could you talk about the bridge just a second and how this is already, well, you tell us about it.
Yeah, so when they did the Highway 99 bridge, and I can't remember how many years ago it was, but it was multiple years ago, we did work with them to get a trail lane installed, a 10-foot additional trail lane that's on the bridge, and the idea would be to use that as a connector for a future trail. It just so happens that some funds are available and our number came up, and we would really like to run that through that bridge and get some connection going.
So I asked Pete to mention that because this is that connection on having plans looking forward with master planning, whatever it's in, and being able to connect the dots with funding has opportunities become available.
Right.
It also is a wonderful tool in working with DOT and others so they can kind of see that vision that the community has and plan for it as well.
Right.
Any additional questions for Pete or for Todd? Hearing nothing, the resolution authorizing Bolton and Mank to complete design services for the 2024 Highway 99 trail from Nicollet Avenue to Highway 169 is on page 58 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye. The
Thank you.
resolution is approved. Thanks, Pete. Next up, we have a resolution calling for a closed session.
Mayor members, technically this would be two closed sessions, one for union negotiations related to the water, wastewater, stormwater local, and then a second related to the streets local. Closed sessions are allowed under state statute for union negotiations. I'm hopeful that we're able to come out of closed session and potentially take action on one or both of these contracts, so that you'll see that that's contemplated as a part of your agenda. If we're unable to, we will come back into open session and provide for reports and adjournment.
All right. Any questions for Todd? Or is there a motion to approve the resolution on page 59 of the packet?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Pettis,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Mayor Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. We will go into executive session. It is 7:26 p.m. Thanks very much. We are back. We are out of executive session. We are back in open session. It is 7:38 p.m. And our first item of new business is water, wastewater, stormwater union contracts.
Mayor members, there's information on your desk, and you discussed this in closed session under Minnesota state law related to your local 70 water, wastewater, stormwater contract. This is a slightly different group than what you've seen in the past. In the past, as you or other members from the community may recall, this group not only included the three groups that I listed, but also electric linemen who have now separated and have their own separate local. The information included in your packet and on your desk includes what I think are the most significant changes to the contract, in that this is a one-year contract for the 2024 year. So retro pay would be available. This contract essentially goes from January 1st to the end of the year, December 31st. An increase in pay of 4%, a clarification to probationary pay and its applicability, modification to visitation rights that are part of state law, additional follow me clauses in a number of different areas. So by follow me, we mean the language points to your personnel policy and says our union follows the personnel policy in this respect. And it lists off a section or an article or a paragraph that's listed. And that includes holidays, sick leave, bereavement leave, life insurance, 40/40, which is the change that the council made to the personnel policy at the end of last year, which provides 40 hours of sick and 40 hours vacation to employees upon their start. It also includes a modification to longevity pay, providing for 1/2% of annualized pay at the four-year anniversary, really at the end of the year where they get 4 years in. A modification to on-call pay to $300, modification to safety equipment really related to eyeglasses in a maximum amount of $150 for frames, and allows them to purchase them at other locations, really any location that's approved. And then uniform allowance for new employees and others. So typically in the past, in past contracts, we've had an employee allowance that was X for all employees. We've now moved to really a policy change that's embedded in this contract, which provides a little bit more money for new employees, because they have more stuff to get, like heavy coats and other things that ongoing employees don't really buy new every year, maybe only need it every 2 or 3 or 5 years. And so it provides for new employees at $700 and ongoing employees at $600. And then of course there are usually technical changes. Maybe it's a typo, a date, certainly new names, or clarification of article numbers, or re-stratification of that where provisions have changed. Madam Mayor, the information is included in your packet. You do have a copy of the contract in front of you, as well as a resolution, and the recommendation from staff is to approve the resolution to enter this contract for the 2024 year, again for water, wastewater, stormwater, local 70.
Thanks, Todd. Questions for Todd? Hearing no questions, the resolution before us approves contract by and between the City of St. Peter and International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 70, AFL-CIO Water, Wastewater, Stormwater for calendar year 2024. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Sharpstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. We will move on to our last item of new business tonight, which is a resolution approving a contract between the city and our streets union.
Mayor members, this is very similar, and so my speech will be very similar to other union groups that you have already negotiated with and completed contracts with. I will mention that this is the last of your 6 groups, and so as the mayor indicated, this is for streets. The most significant modifications to the contract are listed within a memo that was provided on your desk along with the contract. And so they include a 1-year contract for the 2024 year, again, meaning from January 1st to the end of 2024. So what we would typically call retro pay would be provided as a part of this. An increase of wages generally across the board of 4%, clarification related to probationary pay language and who that applies to and when, modification of union visitation provision under Section 3 or Article 3 of the contract, a number of follow-me provisions. Again, with other contracts you've had follow-me provisions, this really means that there's language within the contract that says on this matter, this contract follows the City of St. Peter personnel policy. And so those matters include holidays, sick leave, bereavement leave, life insurance, start of employment, 40 hours of sick, 40 hours of vacation, and longevity pay at 4 years, a new classification at 0.5% of 1%. It also includes a modification to safety equipment language related to eyeglasses, including a maximum amount for frames of $150 for those safety glasses, and allows them to purchase them really wherever they can get approval to purchase from. Union uniform allowance increasing, or there's a slight increase for all employees, but again, following that policy that we talked about just a few moments ago, where that new employees would receive slightly more because they have more stuff to get that they don't wear out that quickly, and then at $425 and then $375 for ongoing employees. And then technical changes, dates, names, format, those types of things that are embedded in just about every contract. We have a couple of those things that we fix every time. Madam Mayor, members, the recommendation from staff is to approve the resolution that's attached to this documentation.
Questions for Todd? Hearing none, the resolution approving contract by and between the City of St. Peter and International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 70, AFL-CIO Streets for calendar year 2024 is on our desks. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharpstrom.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Moving on to reports, I have a proclamation for Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas Parks and Recreation is an integral part of communities throughout the country, including the City of St. Peter, and whereas Parks and Recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks, and whereas Park and Recreation promotes time spent outdoors and in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being and alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. And whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for athletics, trails, playgrounds, golf courses, community gardens, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Park and Recreation programming and education activities such as summer programming, youth sports, environmental education, and creative arts are critical to childhood development. And whereas Parks and Recreation increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, and crime reduction. And whereas our parks and open spaces ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. And whereas the City of St. Peter recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now, therefore, I, Shannon A. Noel, Mayor of the City of St. Peter, Minnesota, do hereby proclaim July 2024 as Parks and Recreation Month in the City of St. Peter. We call upon all citizens and civic organizations to pay tribute to the value of parks and recreation brings to our community, and to recognize the substantial contributions parks and recreation professionals make to our health, quality of life, active lifestyles, socialization, and the building of community. That was a long proclamation, but one that is very well deserved. We are very fortunate to have wonderful parks resources in St. Peter, amazing staff that take care of those resources, and prior councils that prioritized us and, you know, put us on a great path for the well-being of our community. So, are there any council members who'd like to make a report this evening? All right, hearing none, we will move on to the city administrator.
Mayor members, I have a couple things that I'd like to report on. If I could just deviate from the agenda just slightly, I think it's worthwhile to ask Pete to come up and for us to give you an update on flooding in our area and the impact on infrastructure and some of the challenges that we see, what's going on. And I would mention that for many people that might be watching this data is a little bit old. So there are places where you can go to get updated data about detours and other things. And so we'd really encourage those folks to check out the DOT website, District 7, or certainly the city's website. But for the state highways, really check that DOT website first. They have great information and maps on there. But this is an evolving thing, but we wanted to provide opportunity for you to know where we're at. So Pete, give us a few great pieces of information that you think are worthwhile for us to know about flooding.
Okay, one of the things I wanted to remind you guys, if you remember last winter, the mayor made it known that she was in charge of weather.
Only the good weather, only the good one.
And so as we struggle through this one, we're asking for a little leeway here. Right now, our river level is about 761.5. As we started this morning, we have gained about 3.5 feet just on the river level here in St. Peter. So we're struggling with that a little bit. We're keeping up with things. We currently have Walnut and Front Street closed down. We have some pumps down there that we have to pump storm sewer over the berm if we receive any rain in that area, because we have shut off some of the city systems down there. And so we're getting a little water feeding back through the berm that's down there, and we're trying to keep up with that. During the course of our last week here, we were successful in helping the communities of St. Clair and Brownton as they struggled with some wastewater issues. So we had staff going there as early as last Friday, doing some work with those guys and getting some pumps set up for them and helping them eliminate some of their community issues. And so we have both those pumps back. They are on Front Street, and we'll continue to work down there. We are receiving about 5.88 million gallons a day for sewage right now. Now our plant is designed for 1.4 million, so we're getting about 4 days of sewage in a single day right now because of either older decrepit sewers or sump pumps and tiles that may be running into the sewer system. So anything you can do to eliminate a lot of the flow. If you have a sump pump in your house and it is running and it is not running outside, please pipe it to the outside. That will eliminate a lot of the clear water that comes in. We have to treat every gallon that comes through the wastewater plant. It's a little easier at the diluted rate that it is right now, but nonetheless, we still have to treat everything, and we are meeting limitations so far. Our wastewater staff is doing an outstanding job of making things happen.
Could you elaborate? Is it legal to actually put your sub pump into the stormwater system?
It is not legal to put it into the sanitary
sewer
sewer,
system.
yes.
Thank you.
But the problem that we have there, Councilmember DeVos, is that a lot of these sump pumps probably only run in situations like this. So it's probably been 7-8 years since they've been tested and tried, and most people probably don't know where they are. Maybe it's a different house or whatever the case. If you have any questions, call us. We'll come out, take a look, and help you. Give you some advice on what to do there. Our goal then, of course, is try to get the wastewater flows under control. Water system's doing just fine. Everything's good there. And we're looking forward to meeting a peak possibly on Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll see how that all works. And then we should see levels fall in the river fairly fast and significantly before the 4th of July.
Thanks for all the work that's being done.
Yep. Any questions I can try to answer?
I would also mention that I am and Pete and his team have had a lot of contact with DOT over the past few days, and so we continue to talk about challenges related to traffic and detours and how all that fits together. But as I mentioned earlier, this is really evolving pretty quickly, so hang with us and continue to refer to the DOT's website for some of their information. Other than Front and Walnut, we think we're in pretty good shape and
Right.
don't see detouring on really any other city streets at this point.
Right, and we'll try to update the city's website as well when we have some information like this as far as levels and pumping rates and stuff. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you, Pete.
All right, back to you, Todd.
The next item that I have, give me just a moment, Madam Mayor, I gotta get to the right spot here. We did want to mention for folks, and update folks on 4th of July. We've had a few questions about the 4th of July. I gotta find the right spot here. And so we wanted to show an image of where the parade route is. It has not changed from previous years. We get lots of calls and people wonder, and so here's an image on our website that shows where the parade route is, really starting on Washington, at the corner of Washington and Broadway, going south on Washington to Elm, and then east on Elm to Minnesota Square Park. Because of construction on Pine Street, we will be making some crossings available, so people that either park further south on Jefferson or Wabasha, and certainly the parade and some of the participants, they gotta kinda have a way out. And so typically they go south, so we have some crossings planned there as a part of the construction that's going on, and so that should happen on the day, on the 4th of July, to help make that all work together. That's really the most significant thing that I want to mention, except it's a wonderful day. It will be on the 4th to be in St. Peter. Fantastic opportunity for family and friends to see the parade. It's a beautiful route. There'll be approximately 90 units, and all of this is hosted through volunteers and a group from the Chamber of Commerce. The city, Pete's team, Chief Matt's group, all have activities related to this, but certainly the Chamber is the organizing group, and thanks to them and all their work in putting this great event together, not just the parade, but all the activities that are going to occur in Minnesota Square Park.
All right. Last chance for reports. How about a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.